Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. There is something about a man who spends too much time by himself. I ain't talking about a man who enjoys a little quiet time, a little reflection. No. I'm talking about a man who stays alone, isolates himself, never lets nobody in. That man is dangerous. Now, let me break this down for you. See, life ain't meant to be lived in solitude. God didn't put you on this earth to walk this journey alone. No successful man, no truly happy man does it by himself. The greatest minds, the strongest leaders, the wealthiest, the most fulfilled men, they all got people around them. They got mentors, they got brothers, they got a circle that sharpens them like iron sharpens iron. A man who spends too much time alone becomes vulnerable in ways he may not even realize. When you're constantly in isolation, you start to live in your own mind, and that can be a dangerous place if there's no one to challenge your thoughts, no one to hold you accountable, no one to remind you of reality when your mind starts playing tricks on you. The human mind is powerful, but it can also be a dangerous battlefield. When you're alone for too long, you start believing every thought that crosses your mind, whether it's true or not. You start overanalyzing, replaying failures, and feeding into doubts that wouldn't stand a chance if you had the right people around you. Nobody is meant to go through life without a support system, without guidance, without checks and balances. The more isolated you are, the more susceptible you become to negative thinking, bad habits, and destructive behaviors. A man without accountability can justify anything to himself. You sit alone and suddenly the smallest setback feels like the biggest failure. You convince yourself that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough. You start making decisions based on fear instead of wisdom. There's no one there to remind you of your strengths, no one to help you process challenges, no one to give you perspective when you're too deep in your own head. People who isolate themselves think they're protecting their peace, but oftentimes they're just feeding their own insecurities. There's a difference between enjoying solitude and becoming a prisoner of it. A man who never allows himself to be sharpened by others will always remain dull. You might think you're avoiding problems by staying away from people, but in reality, you're creating a bigger problem within yourself. The mind, when left unchecked, will always find something to dwell on, and when you're alone, those thoughts don't get filtered. Life will always test you, but you're not supposed to face every battle alone. When you cut yourself off from others, you limit your ability to grow, to learn, and to evolve. Strength doesn't come from isolation. It comes from having the right people around you to challenge you, support you, and guide you. A man who isolates himself might think he's in control, but what he's really doing is making himself an easy target for doubt, fear, and self-destruction. No man has ever achieved true greatness on his own. The idea of being completely self-made is a myth, because behind every successful person is a network of people who have played a role in their journey. Whether it's mentors, friends, family, or business partners, every great man has leaned on others at some point. The stronger your connections, the greater your chances of reaching your full potential. A man who isolates himself may believe he is being independent, but what he is really doing is limiting his opportunities for growth. Success is built on relationships, on learning from others, on collaboration, and on shared wisdom. When you are connected to the right people, you gain knowledge that you would never have discovered on your own. You are exposed to new perspectives, new opportunities, and new ways of thinking that challenge you to elevate yourself. Nobody has all the answers, and no one sees every angle of a situation. Having people in your corner means you have access to insight and experience beyond your own. The most successful men in the world understand the power of surrounding themselves with the right individuals. They know that having a team of advisors, supporters, and challengers is essential to making the best decisions. Without that, a man is left to navigate the complexities of life alone, making mistakes that could have been avoided with the right guidance. Opportunities often come through people. No matter how skilled or talented you are, if nobody knows about it, your success will always be limited. Connections open doors that hard work alone cannot. It's not just about what you know, but also about who you know. Relationships create trust, and trust creates opportunities. When people see your value, they advocate for you, they introduce you to others, and they put your name in rooms you haven't even stepped into yet. Being surrounded by successful, driven, and wise people forces you to level up. When you spend time with people who are constantly improving, constantly learning, and constantly striving for more, it naturally pushes you to do the same. If you isolate yourself, you stay stagnant. You don't see the possibilities beyond your own experience, and you don't get exposed to the habits and mindsets that lead to greatness. You become the sum of the people you surround yourself with. And if you are always alone, you are missing out on the influence of those who can help you grow. Isolation breeds complacency. When there is no one to challenge you, no one to hold you accountable, it's easy to fall into a pattern of mediocrity. It's easy to settle for less when there's no one pushing you to do more. Success requires connection because connection creates motivation, inspiration, and accountability. A man who surrounds himself with people who are striving for greatness will inevitably strive for greatness himself. But a man who chooses to be alone will always struggle to reach his full potential. Growth doesn't happen in isolation. A man can only go so far on his own before he reaches a point where he needs others to sharpen him, challenge him, and push him beyond his limits. Just like iron sharpens iron, people sharpen each other through wisdom, experience, and accountability. No matter how strong, smart, or independent a man thinks he is, without the right people around him, he will never reach his full potential. A blade that is never sharpened eventually becomes dull, no matter how strong it once was. A man who never surrounds himself with people who challenge him will become stagnant, stuck in the same routine, same patterns, and same mindset. The most successful and powerful men are those who have been tested, refined, and molded by the influence of other great minds. They understand that growth comes from being in the presence of those who expect more from them, those who push them to be better, those who refuse to let them settle. Feedback is one of the most valuable tools for improvement. And without people around you to offer it, you risk making the same mistakes over and over again. A man who isolates himself has no one to tell him when he is wrong, no one to give him a new perspective, no one to challenge his way of thinking. He may believe he is doing fine on his own, but in reality, he is limiting his growth. The most dangerous thing a man can do is assume he knows everything. The wisest men understand that learning is a lifelong process, and the best lessons often come from those around them. Success leaves clues, and the fastest way to grow is to learn from those who have already achieved what you are striving for. When you surround yourself with people who are ahead of you, their knowledge, habits, and mindset rub off on you. They show you what is possible, they teach you the mistakes to avoid, and they set a higher standard for you to reach. If you are always the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. A man should always be seeking out people who challenge him, who make him think differently, who push him to become more than he was yesterday. There is no progress without pressure. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Swords are sharpened through friction, and men are strengthened through challenges. The people you surround yourself with should not just agree with everything you say or allow you to remain comfortable. They should push you, call you out when you are slipping, and hold you to a higher standard. This is how greatness is built. Not through comfort, not through isolation, but through constant refinement and sharpening. Accountability is one of the greatest gifts a man can receive. When you have people in your life who expect more from you, who refuse to let you make excuses, you rise to the occasion. A man who has no one holding him accountable is a man who will fall into complacency. It is easy to make excuses when no one is watching. It is easy to lower your standards when no one is there to remind you of what you are capable of. True growth happens when you surround yourself with people who won't let you fail. People who see your potential and push you toward it. When a man spends too much time alone, he begins to live inside his own mind, and that can be one of the most dangerous places to be. without external voices to balance